So with the brand new Studio Trigger show coming out next week, it's really not new, but it's something. And I've been really vocal on it on Twitter. So with this new show, I'm going to talk about another personal favorite from the same studio. And since you already read the title, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Space Patrol Luluco. So you are probably asking yourself, why this very specific underrated show to talk about on your channel? Yeah, she becomes a gun, so that brought me in pretty quickly. So I watched this show not too long after Ninja Slayer, as it seemed like there was nothing like it. And I have to say, this show rocks. So I'm going to talk about it. But before I begin, the black and white filter will have to return because Trigger hates me because I talk about their greatest shows ever. But before I start talking, please consider liking, commenting, and subscribing, as it helps me a lot and it's free. So let's be. So this show starts with a middle school girl called Luluco, who is the most normal girl than normal can get. While her dad works for Space Patrol, which is like space cops. Anyway, her dad, Kenji, eats a pill that freezes him. This is like the first 30 seconds after the intro, and I love it because it's straight to the point. And it happens so quickly too, like it doesn't skip a beat.
And from this moment on, her life will never be the same.
And then his entire frozen body breaks. So she takes him to Space Patrol and we meet Evil Justice, who then proceeds to arrest Luluco and arrest her, then giving her a job at Space Patrol. This is the point where her life changes, because now she is a space cop and, as Evil Justice puts it, give them justice. So then we follow her as she goes to school and say how perfect and normal she is. Then she transforms into a gun, which looks brutal as her entire body opens up. At least we know what happens to Megatron when he transforms. But unlike Megatron, she can move and shoot, and she fights for justice. So then another talk about a normal life ruined. And then credits. That was only the first episode of this show. It's a great first episode as it tells you everything you need to know in like 5 minutes or more. And before I talk about everything else about this show, I have to talk about the ending theme, Peepo Password. And even though I think this song doesn't fit the first episode at all, later on during the show it fits it more, but more on that later. But before I continue with everything else, I have to mention two very important characters, Alpha Omega Nova and Midori. So Nova is introduced in the second episode as a transfer student from space. And Nova already knows that Luluco works for Space Patrol because, well, she's a gun. Because he also works for Space Patrol, which is very convenient for Luluco. So Luluco and Nova go for a walk, and they talk about the town they live, which is really good world building. Because this town is weird as it's the only town where aliens and humans live. And Luluco can't see that, which catches the attention of Nova. And they really just get to know each other here because, well, they are going to be working with each other for a really long time. And Nova mentions that he was born in the Big Bang, which is crazy to think about because he is as old as the universe. Then Nova murders the black hole offender, which is kind of the plot of the first 3 episodes. So after Nova kills the guy, Luluco kinda gets the feelings for Nova, which is when this show changes, as now it's this weird show with weird characters, but with a love plot that when the twist happens it kinda shocks you the first time watching it. So episode 2 is honestly a great way to introduce Nova as our love interest for our main character, and the credits finally make sense. So episode 3 starts in like the best way possible as Luluco wants to know Nova better, but Nova really wants to get done with the mission, and he leaves her disappointed. And this episode shows you the introduction of Midori, how she runs a legal black hole app that Space Patrol tries to stop these first 3 episodes, and I think it's a great introduction to her character because she's really funny in the show. If anything, she works as the comic relief of this show next to Evil Justice! And that she's kind of a brat, but in the playful type of way. Which then I'll like to say that the character designs of this show are absolutely great, as all the characters have these black lines, which adds to the overall art style. Then Luluco does her best impression of Phoenix, right? But overall, this episode serves as a great introduction to Midori, and these first 3 episodes just serves as a great intro to the show. And then Midori joins Space Patrol, and I'll just let this explain itself.
本当に今回悪かったと思ってるんで反省します。反省しました。で、私も宇宙パトロール入って、ノバ君と一緒に逮捕するやつやるってっつうか、マジ頼むわ、一つ。
一度でも罪を犯した者は犯罪者だ。犯罪者は死刑だ。
だからそれは悪かったっつってんじゃん。謝ったじゃん、しつけえな。殺すぞ。
では、君の宇宙パトロールの入隊を認めよう。
So those episodes were mostly to introduce us to the members of Space Patrol, and it's why I went deep into them. But now I'm just going to talk about the whole show, so there will be spoilers for a 2016 show. But if you do want to see me talk about every episode and rank them, please subscribe. Anyway, back. So in episode 4, we meet Luluco's mom, who is a space pirate that left her, and her dad when she was young, and from this point on, the show changes, as in episode 5, Luluco steals their town, and now they have to travel all over the Studio Trigger multiverse to find it and put it back where it... So then, after going to universe, and Luluco and Nova getting more close to each other, she dies. And while she's dead, she meets the one, the only. Which is probably the most deep-cut Trigger callback, but personally it felt really surreal, as the whole reason I started watching these shows like Ninja Slayer and Space Patrol was because I watched Inferno Cop, and before I watched the whole show I already knew he was in it, but still, it's a very deep-cut cameo. Anyway, the whole reason Luluco died was because Nova sort of betrayed her, which honestly is an okay twist, but it only hits by the last 3 episodes. Then Inferno Cop tells Luluco the way out of hell. Yeah, really. She comes back to life to go tell Nova how she really feels about him. And it's told to us that Nova can't feel anything at Lot. He's nothing. He can't feel anything. But the love Luluco feels for him is so high that it makes him feel something for once in his life, which honestly is just great writing. I feel like I'm forgetting something. Oh yeah, this guy, and this probably the messiest the show gets for me, as he really only appears for the last 3 episodes and has little set up. And that's my biggest issue with the show. Mostly the finale, as I think it's a mostly perfect finale. It's ruined because I don't feel anything for the villain, and even by the last episode in the season he is in, I barely know who he is other than someone who was a relation to Nova. And yes, Nova dies. But overall, it's a really great show. The animation is super nice, but you already knew that, but yes, this is amazing, and you should go watch it. It's the only love anime you'll ever hear me tell you to go watch it.
Now I'm going to end the video with something that made me so happy I had to include it. Thank you so much for watching. I have no idea for the context of the video, but it's great. Link in the description.